Hi guys, PJ back at it again with another technical video. Nice short one this time. We're fitting a dashboard camera to the fuse box of a 2016 Kia Carens, and I'm just going to show you how to do that so that basically when you turn your ignition on and off, the camera itself will go on and off with the ignition, and also how to hide all the cabling so that it's not dangling down your window screen looking a mess. Now, as you'll see, I've done many of these videos before and I always end up using some form of fitting kit. This particular one's by Next Base. They're available from Amazon, eBay, that type of thing. And you get everything you need in there to do the job. I will quickly point out where the fuse box is right at the start of this video. It's right here. So there's a panel here, just pull and your fuse box is up under there. We'll also be removing a side panel, etc. So you got a little diagram there, look, showing you what all your fuses do. Just turn it around. Not very helpful if it's upside down, is it? There we go. So you'll have that on the back of your fuse box showing you what everything does. We'll be using a non-essential fuse, so an accessory fuse, nothing linked to ABS braking or airbags or anything like that. Just an accessory fuse for this procedure. Now, before we go any further, I will just point out that I'm not held liable or responsible for any injury to yourself or damage to your vehicle sustained from trying to follow this video guide. Okay, onwards. Let's have a quick look what we get in the pack and what useful tools we will need to do the job. So in the fitting kit, we get a replacement power cable. You do not use the one that comes with your camera, you get this one. This particular kit's got a mini USB. Please pay attention to the brand of your camera, because some cameras can have a micro USB connection, or in fact their own version of whatever brand it is. So just pay attention. The bulk of them are mini USB, like this, okay? The wire basically is quite long, so it should be able to go the whole length of the vehicle if need be, if your fuse box is in the rear. Obviously on this Kia Carens it's not, but I'm just pointing that out. On the other end you've got a nice simple plus and minus on this kit. Now, minus earth connection there, we'll be connecting this to a chassis earth point on the vehicle, more than likely behind a mounting bolt. I'll show you where we do that. And we have on this kit a nice simple ignition switched live, which will be going to a fuse that is in the fuse box. Some cameras have a third wire which is for a constant live, so they need a constant live and an ignition switched. If that's the case, obviously you need to find a constant live fuse and test which one you're going to use on that. Again, don't use a critical system. So that's your power cable. Most of them come with this little ferrous filter. Basically it's a glorified magnet, and they're a little cylinder. You pop them open like so, and they go on as near to the connector as possible. So we put it there, and what we do, we actually wrap the cable around it and then back out again and then click it shut. I'll show you that done shortly. And that will help with interference on DAB radios and that type of thing, okay? Not a guaranteed fix. Some vehicles, especially Mercedes, you know, this doesn't work. So if you get any DAB interference, make sure this is on, yeah? Fuse spurs, very handy things that come in the pack. You can buy them separately from the same sort of outlets or car shops. You normally get 3 different sizes. I've only got 2 here in this kit. We get the old-fashioned larger fuses, which are still fitted to some commercial vehicles. We won't be needing that on the Kia. Get rid of that. This is a mini blade fuse. We will be using this. You'll notice it comes with a fuse in it. This fuse runs your camera. It's normally a 2 or a 3 amp. It's quite low. And there's a socket at the side. Now the socket is for the fuse you remove from the fuse box and goes in there. And then, yes, you guessed it, this part of it shoves into where you've taken the fuse from. So it's a little bit like your household mains extensions, where you'll plug a 4-way adapter into the main socket and then it gives you 4 different sockets. Similar thing, plug this in your fuse box, it doubles up the socket to give you an extra outlet. Okay. On the end there is a female bullet connector, which, yes, you guessed it, plugs into the wiring kit, like so. Okay, and that provides your power to the camera. Some cars, not this particular one, use what's called a mini blade 2 connector, and the prongs are a lot nearer to each other and the fuses are a lot narrower. If your car is that type of blade connector, your handbook will tell you, obviously you need to buy the correct fuse adapter, fuse spur. This car is this one, okay? Right, useful tools on this particular job. So, this is everything we'll be using to do the job. Good old multimeter. You can also use one of those little screwdrivers with a light bulb in the end to test your circuit. You just tap it onto the end of the fuse and it should light up if it's live or not. We'll be using a multimeter. A bojo tool. Basically, these are plastic leverage tools for levering car trim without damaging it. You do not want to be using a metal screwdriver to leave a plastic trim on your vehicle. You will definitely damage the trim. Don't do it. Go and find a plastic scraper of any description, whether it be one of these or another brand. But as you can see, these again are available from eBay and that type of place. They're worth it. They're about £1, and just to save any damage on your car, it's very much worthwhile investing in one. Some snips, some electrical tape, and some cable ties. Always useful to have. Now what we do with the cable ties is we actually use them to help suspend the cable like this. Right, sort of offer your cable up against the top of the window screen and measure it out, and pop a couple of cable ties over. So we put a cable tie around it, yeah, snip the end off it, and then what I normally do is wrap it in electrical tape. And the reason I do that is because it's got sometimes quite a sharp edge, and you don't want it rubbing away at the inside of your headlining and making a mark on it, yeah. So we've sort of gapped those out across the top of the window screen, and they're just basically to bulk the cable up a bit, so that, you know, if you're driving along and you hit one of our lovely great potholes in the road, you don't want the cable falling out from behind the headlining and dangling across your view while you're driving. It'd be quite distracting, wouldn't it? So this is just to basically bulk the cable up to hold it more in place above the headlining. You might want 3, you might want 4. On the Kia Carens, we're probably going to have another one right at the end here, the other side of the mirror, because the camera itself's going on the sort of passenger side of the mirror, the actual driver's mirror. So we'll finish wrapping these in tape, and then we'll start hiding all the cable away. Okay, so we've started tucking the cable up. Now, your headlining is like a fibre cardboard substance. Don't go at it like a bull in a gate, and you know, you've just got to gently pull it down and tuck the cable behind it all the way along the edge here, and then round this plastic thing until you get to here, so it comes out down there. Now when you get to this corner, you're going to use your plastic leverage tool behind the plastic trim and just pop it, okay? There's a click connector buried deep down inside there, and it's just popped off a bit. Now you will see your airbag. Now on the Kia it goes quite high, it comes up here somewhere. So what we're going to do is basically feed the cable behind it. So there's the airbag, yeah, and you can go right behind it, look, just get behind it like so with your cable like I've done here. So it goes all the way round and behind it. A lot of cars it sort of finishes here, so you can just sort of carry on across the top with your cable, but on the Kia it does actually go quite high up. So we've gone behind the airbag, like I say, right behind there, look, there's the airbag all folded up, and we're coming down here. We've also pulled off the rubber trim, so all you do with that is grip it and pull, and it will come ajar. Follow it all the way down until you get to this side panel here. Your side panel's on plastic poppers, so you're going to get your trim removal tool and just pop it off, like so. As you can see, there's all the clips that hold it on. Just put that safely out of the way. Gives you nice access to some bolts here that we can use as an earthing point, and also somewhere to put your cable through. Seeing as you're at this height, you can also put your rubber trim back on again. Just basically tap it all the way down, and this piece here needs to be put back on. Just give it a firm whack and it'll pop back on nicely. You're looking for that factory fit finish. Next up, we're removing this bolt here. This is a 12mm bolt, and we'll be using it for an earthing point for the cabling. So the black wire goes to this area. We'll just take that bolt out. So with bolt out, we're going to put our ring terminal over it. Now you notice this came with the like Spade Connect terminal on the end, and I've chopped that off and put a proper ring on it. It's just over the years and the fact that I do hundreds of these type installations, I've noticed they can be a bit feeble, so I tend to put a proper ring connector on them. Personal preference, you don't need to do it, it's just something I do. Also pop a washer on the back of it, because when you tighten the bolt up, you want it to sit nicely flush and do its job of you know, holding the securing bracket in place. We don't want the cable spinning around when we tighten it up, and that will stop that from happening. Go ahead and pop the bolt back in, and that will be your earthing point done. Earthing point now attached, cable coming off there, as you can see, bolt's nice and tight. Get your power cable, feed it through, and you'll see it can come all the way round, like so. And that's because our fuse box, like I say, oops, sorry guys, dropped the camera there, it's just there. So we just need access to that, okay? Now we're going to test which fuses we need. Right, so if you're using a multimeter, basically looking for a 0 voltage readout, as you tap the end of your fuse. There, the little shiny bit on the end, the prong. You're looking for a 0 voltage. If you're using a screwdriver that illuminates, you want it to stay off. You do not want it to light up. This is with your ignition off we do this, okay? So with the ignition off, we go along and we test accessory fuses. This particular one's a 7.5 amp fuse, second one in as you can see. And the little label shows like a frost symbol on it on the back of the fuse box cover. Obviously earth out the other prong on your multimeter. And then test it again with the ignition on. So now with the ignition on, there we go, 12 volts. We'll now go ahead and pull the correct fuse. Obviously, depending on year and spec of your vehicle, your fuse box configuration may differ, so make sure you do test them. Now you'll notice they're a stubby fuse, like so, which means to use it in the fuse spurt, we're going to have to replace it with a normal mini blade one. So same ampage, 7.5 amp. They're all colour coded, so brown is 7.5 amp for example, red is 10 amp, etc. And this will go in your fuse spurt, like so. So it's sort of doubled up, yeah? Nice and easy. This then plugs into the slot where your old fuse came from, like so. And then plug the female bayonet off the end of it onto the male bayonet of the power cable that you've run through your dashboard, so that goes into there. And then we'll tidy up all the cabling that's dangling down. With all the cabling tidied up, you can either pop your side cover back on or you can test your camera. Now you might want to test your camera just to make sure everything's fine. Like I say, I sort of do hundreds of these, so I'll just pop this back together like so. Put your rubber seal on. There we go. Nice snug fit. You need it to look factory finish. You don't want anything showing, yeah? So now let's go and test our camera. Right, before we test the camera, just really quickly cover this. A lot of cameras come with two mounts. They'll either come with a suction mount or a 3M sticky pad mount, okay? There's a reason for that. If your window screen has a textured area at the top, so if you touch it and it feels textured, like a painted surface in fact, you're going to need to use the 3M sticky mount. If it's just smooth glass, you won't need to. Some of these darker areas are smooth glass and you can still use the suction mount. We're going to be mounting the camera sort of here, so we're going to be using the 3M sticky pad mount that comes with this particular one. Obviously, if not, you could mount it to the side here using the suction mount. The cameras themselves, you'll be buying a memory card for it, okay? Some come with them, some don't. Now, make sure you get the right speed memory card. It matters more than the capacity of the memory card. If you've got a 4K camera, so your image is 4K and you can zoom your number plates in from miles away, you're going to need a high-speed memory card, not a normal memory card, okay? 1080p cameras, 1440p, 720p, normal memory card will do the job. So you can just order a normal micro SD card for those. Pop your memory card in, don't forget to do that, and assemble your mount. So if the camera nice and high up out the way, you need to keep it out of your wiper sweep area ideally. We're going to test it now, so pop the ignition on and see if it works. And there we go, straight away, little light comes on, no problem. And with that, that is how you fit a camera to a Kia Carens. If you've got any questions at all, please pop them in the comments below. Thanks for watching.